People might ask, do we really even need NASA? Do we really even need space exploration? And why do that when there's so many problems right here on Earth? So in 1958, President Eisenhower founded NASA, or the National Aeronautic and Space Administration. And the Kennedy Space Center obviously is a NASA establishment, and right here is the visitor center, and there's tons of exhibits to see, different displays to see, a ton of history regarding just space and the space program and all of the things that NASA has had a hand in over the years. So in September of 1961, NASA purchased this land here on Merritt Island in Florida to support the Apollo lunar landing program. So the Kennedy Space Center here has actually been very pivotal. This was actually the very first site that launched a mission with man to the moon. So very historical area in the sense that this was the actual area where that very first mission to send man to the moon started. So the East Coast is actually optimal for rocket launches because of the direction of the Earth's spin. So if rocket launches happened on the West Coast, it would actually be fighting the spin of the Earth and make it more difficult. Plus, it would put those rockets over more populated areas. So the East Coast here is the optimal location to be able to launch rockets from, and that is why that you see those rockets being launched from this East Coast area.
Yes, we're going to Mars. Now, imagine standing on the red planet, millions and millions of miles away from the Earth.
Hey Dad, is this like real or Lego?
It looks real. Let's check it out.
Let's get closer. See? It's not.
It's Lego.
Yeah.
No way.
Like over. Oh wait, no, there's no way. There's actually cords.
So some really interesting things. People might ask, do we really even need NASA? Do we really even need space exploration? And why do that when there's so many problems right here on Earth? And that's a really good question. But when you look at it, what's very interesting is that NASA technology and space exploration technology is actually something that has improved all of our everyday lives. Things like satellites, cell phones. We wouldn't have GPS if we didn't have satellites. Things like artificial limbs are all NASA developed technology that have improved everyday life for pretty much all of us at one point or another. So it's very important that we keep this program going for people to continue to improve our lives and the quality of others' lives as well. So another really interesting thing is that there's actually a special patch for every single mission that's ever been flown on the space shuttles or even the original lunar modules. And each of those patches for each of those missions have the names, the last names of the astronauts embroidered into those patches, except for one. And that would be the Apollo 11. And that was because that was the first one that put man on the moon.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
And Neil Armstrong did not want any sort of kind of fame to be associated with that, in the sense that that mission was to be for all mankind, not for that actual crew. but for an advancement of all mankind. So that is the only patch that you will see that does not have the last names of the crew embroidered onto the patch. So one of the really fun things to do is to take a bus tour, because they can take you out to some areas that you just can't go as a private citizen. So we're gonna hop on a bus and take the bus tour of some of the areas that we just wouldn't be able to go see ourselves. So some really interesting things about the bus tour, it takes you over to the Saturn V Rocket Center, and they actually show you where one of the actual launches took place. And so it's an actual firing room, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the firing room?
Well, what I thought was like, I honestly thought it was gonna be another show like with fire tossing or something, but it wasn't.
But it's just basically a bunch of computers, huh?
Yeah.
But it's where
it wasn't what I
they
expected.
it's where they actually did the firing for the rocket. But one thing that was in there is they did have a tribute to the Apollo 1 astronauts, and something that was really interesting is they had a board that showed all of the different Apollo missions. And of course, if you're familiar with what happened with Apollo 13, it was kind of a disastrous mission in the sense of there were mechanical problems, and so the crew was supposed to go land on the moon and they did not get to. But something that really struck me is it said on the board that it was a successful failure to land on the moon. And it just struck me because I thought, how many times, do we maybe fail at things in life and we just think, oh, well, that was a failure, but yet NASA called that a successful failure because all of the crew came back home and safe. And so it just really hit me in the way that even maybe when we fail with something, what's really truly a success is when we are home, when we are with our families, when we're with those that we love, when we return to where we came from, really. And that is what is the success, even though maybe what we set out to do didn't go the way that we thought. So just something that really struck me that I will definitely carry with me from this place. But another tip that we wanted to give you if you decide to come here, the bus tour, get on the bus first, huh?
Yeah.
Why should we get on the bus? Why should we have gotten on the bus first?
Because we never really got to visit like the Heroes and Legends thing. The first of all, we started like exploring, but first you should really go on the bus tour and then do everything after.
The line was really long, so waiting till later in the day to do the bus tour, the line just got longer and longer, and we probably could have gotten on the bus, came back quicker, had we not needed to stand in such a long line, and it wasn't that long when we got here at the beginning of the day. So if you do decide to come, you definitely want to do the bus tour earlier in the day versus later in the day. So thank you so much for watching. We invite you to like this video, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel. Tap that bell so that you can be notified of all of the new videos that we've got coming up.